My name is Ellen, and I'm a professional pastry chef that has lost almost 70 pounds with Noom weight. Before my Noom journey, I wasn't really putting a lot of care into the food that I was putting into my body, often starting my mornings out with something really heavy or carby and sugary that would just leave me exhausted and starving just 2 hours into my 10, 12, 14-hour shift. Working as a pastry chef on my feet, it's now really important to me that I start my morning right with a high-protein breakfast, whether I make myself a plate at home before I leave for work or grab my favorite protein shake and a piece of fruit that travels well on the train on my way to the restaurant. Having Noom's guidance of focusing on high protein and high fiber foods to help me feel fuller longer really helped me curb some bad habits of grazing and snacking all day long at the restaurant, which, trust me, is really easy to let get out of hand. As soon as I get to the restaurant, the first thing I do is throw on my chef uniform, step into the kitchen, fire up those ovens, and get ready to tackle my prep for the day. First things first, gotta make sure those brunch pastries are baked off to perfection. Then I can move on to mixing my bread dough for fresh burger buns and assembling hundreds of desserts for tonight's cocktail party. The restaurant has been picking up more weddings and full dining room buyouts by the week, it feels like. So naturally, I'm constantly surrounded by these tempting little treats of mine. But when I do need to taste test, which of course is part of the job, I always make sure that I hold myself accountable and log that teaspoon of tiramisu into my trusty Noom app to see where I'm at and make sure that I stay in my calorie deficit. Personal accountability is something I really used to struggle with prior to my Noom journey. I used to convince myself that I needed to eat a whole slice of cake just to taste test and make sure that the crumb of the cake was correct, the texture of the frosting was right. And now having that visual with Noom, logging all of my food intake into the app and seeing how quickly a little bite of tiramisu, a little scrap of brownie, a little trimming of cake can easily add up to 200, 300, even 500 calories more onto my day has really been eye-opening and made me understand how quickly and easily it is to knock yourself out of a calorie deficit. For a busy bee all day, it's hard to always find time to take a break, but when I am feeling a little peckish in the afternoon, I like to reach for a healthy snack like a piece of fruit. This helps hold me over until staff meal. Staff meal isn't always the healthiest option, but part of my Noom journey is making sure that I always hold myself accountable and never give myself any excuses not to make it work no matter what the circumstances. Today's lunch is cheeseburger and french fries, so I'm going to go ahead and move my cheeseburger off the bun, skip the french fries today, and just load my plate with a generous side salad. That way, I'm still participating in cheeseburger day, but with a high protein plate that I can feel a lot better about. I'll often pack some lunches from home too, just so I always have something on hand in case staff meal is something I really don't want to participate in that day. But 9 times out of 10, I make it work. Even if they put out something a little heavy like pasta bolognese. Old Ellen would have taken a heaping bowlful and most likely gone back for seconds, if I'm being honest. New Ellen takes a modest portion, a side salad, still enjoys her pasta, doesn't feel any guilt, and doesn't get that 4 o'clock crash I used to get. I have never once felt deprived or left out on my Noom journey. It's just all about moderation and balance. After a quick lunch, it's time to jump right back into the grind and get ready for tonight's party. Having a really active career on my feet, I average anywhere from 15 to 25,000 steps a day, 5 days a week, which is really great in a weight loss journey. However, it's the days off from the restaurant that are a little bit trickier to keep up with, so I just make sure that I, again, give myself no excuses. I walk to the grocery store instead of drive. Maybe I'll pick up some free weights in front of the TV while I'm catching up on all of my DVR'd shows for the week. I have never been a gym rat. I don't think I ever will be, so finding realistic ways to incorporate extra movement into my existing routine has really been key to my long-term success. After a long day of cake decorating and plated dessert service and prep work, it's finally time to wrap things up and head home. I have a pretty long commute, so I'm gonna get a few extra steps in on my way there. One of the most common pieces of advice that you receive when starting a weight loss journey is don't eat too late at night. Don't eat past 9 p.m., don't eat right before bed. And frankly, for someone who works in the industry that I do, that's just not realistic for my lifestyle and my routine. Working the hours that I do, I usually don't even get home until midnight midnight or later and I've just expended a ton of energy, I'm always starving at the end of the day, I have to have a little something when I get home. In the interest of just making small, realistic changes to my existing routine, I just make sure that I keep these late night meals nice and light. One of the ways I like to do that is just by making sure that I expend most of my calories earlier in the day, between breakfast and lunch, maybe an afternoon snack. That way I only have a small window left for the end of the night just to help me keep my plates nice and light. In order to set myself up for success and help curb that temptation to pick up the greasy, convenient takeout, I make sure that my house is always stocked with my favorite, versatile, healthy pantry staples that I can turn into a variety of quick 10-minute dinners when I get home. I love turning these whole wheat wraps into my favorite low-calorie turkey pepperoni pizzas. Tonight, I'm going to turn one of those bad boys into a grilled chicken Caesar wrap. I've got my whole wheat tortilla down. I'm going to add a piece of romaine lettuce, my favorite low-calorie Caesar dressing, and a 3-ounce serving of grilled chicken. Roll that all up and pair it with a couple of light snacks like a skim cheese stick and a mandarin orange for a little extra protein and fiber to help me feel full but still keep the plate light. After a long, exhausting day, it's finally time to sit down and relax for all of 5 minutes and catch up with my husband and our fur babies. And if I need a little dessert before I head off to bed, I reach for one of my healthy, homemade fudge brownies, only 50 calories, guilt-free, perfect way to cap off a long day. Noom has taught me that successful weight loss does not have to mean crash diets and hours in the gym. Small, realistic changes to your existing routine, and you can see results in the scale.